Wait, so like what need my very like sitting on the like it on the created at all. So it's a bit more like still only getting flushed and like only ending up making a noise and actually making a noise and basically that resulting in that the person what was there so like the information might be for them to be showing up and that resulting in that definitely speed as like that's getting captured while and that will last second and that Robin from like a recap along that Robin still platters that Rica is like Robin that definitely lag and that will last second manage it to that height before that and that prevent that so similar person from that spotting problem and that's the I mean the scenario that way like I'm sitting on the tip of like Steve as well as that Dustin get captured and put into that this kind of like situation in this like interrogation code where I'm still thinking about it where like they would be where they are on for different like own put you out in that kind of like situation it's definitely memorable. So, definitely, for example, might have affected points to interrogate on about that the influence in that partners that were in that this to play like about that tools like the case of open like to get like the even more clear details about all of that like including that maybe that I think according to like the kind of like or like the people might have captured and put or to do like an important kind of like situation and might have been getting for a while or it's like might have been about that way that Steve as well as the Muslim getting to like interrogation like an efficiency and then those friend definitely and like then eventually I'm talking about that Robin that from that point on he's making all the plans and he's telling the plans to them again then like Robin that next to the next direction would be definitely things like Robin can speak Russian like but again Robin is only taking advantage of that by like eventually with that after step like only most likely taking out like one of that involved would be totally tying that person up and they maybe like putting on the disguise of like Russian worker and like so that about speaking Russian like in that way that Robin managing to like press that to the other Russian workers and like like 34 that would be present in that underground pathway area then it's like the more focus like the scenario that way that comes in like the theme of like Russian like the like America eventually making it through that interrogation door and then so like them managing to like free like that's as well as like see as well as that point of that and it's like that aspect of like the scenario that is the thing and I'm still thinking about the foundation of like the sudden anger and frustration of like Steve I know that all the might all be due to that substance that having lecturers that critically praised that Robin so much in front of my Steve, and that might have concerning that Steve whom at that point like might have starting to like actually take uh, Robin seriously from that point on also the words might have resulted in that Steve actually thinking about like Robin and actually feeling that considering Robin considering that uh, considering that approaching that Robin that basically that to try to make it like about along the lines like Steve might have felt so like and like actually understanding that might have been like it might have been on that very night was like before that Robin had came with like to the idea to that basically to take advantage of that aircraft to like get access to that room to like the powerful like and it might have been on that very night like to that come down to like such an idea like right Robin might have been like spraining and basically like thinking so hard trying like to our prescribing on how to like make it to that room like the boss like, it might have been while problem might have been so focused on that like and still in like the midst of the night might have so like it might have been during then that like unfortunately like still might have see the thing like Robert out on a date once like all this like certificates like also then the night like still might have asked for Robin and Robin might have taken away rejected still might have been what might have happened definitely might have celebration even though sitting in a celebration that like comedy down might be having that the feeling of affection towards like Steve still from his point of view that once like Steve had like have talking out on a date, like Robin might have straight away felt that basically like Steve asking Robin out on a date might have been really less close being desperate fully get just Steve not being able to get the black all the other girls that Steve wanted to like get the date with. Might be around the lines like Robin might have better that when and so that Robin might have rejected Steve and might have wanted to like test Steve with that Steve genuinely like has still is like genuine about like it's like wanting the taste of like rubber and if like the feeling of affection probably exists within like still genuinely towards like rubber then like rubber might have decided to like be like might have felt along the lines of like still will keep up and still keep on pursuing problem would be like a rubber might have felt so like until that point like to just feel like still will not give up on like pursuing rubber even after like multiple rejections from Robin, maybe along the line that Robin that you might have totally planned and things like such a rejection might have happened to let's say from Robin prayer. And that since then might have been when like Steve might have been only simply Steve definitely might have been not used to that much or in his life might have not all been able to like handle like, the rejection and this might be the reason for like Steve like sort of and person right now in the next the study my particular one is that about which lack of Robin might be like well and fully even while being well and fully aware of that Robin might not want to like embarrass Steve in front of like sustain as well as like and again it might be the reason for like maybe in like person like Robin might be knowing like exactly as to like the reason for like Steve like and some anger and frustration yet like Robin might be totally keeping it a secret from like person and again might feel like that way in situations also that would make a yes, in like we are still getting my remember so that that one of that whole like ultra students and everything might even from way back then might be only counted to that we said that like for might like the thing definitely not remember so definitely all those like the reason for like and so actually even from that all the way from like 1 to 10 and to like steering to 11 like really all this might that run to like create like ultimate weapon and to like hand off that weapon like would be definitely to is very exact weapon focus might be like that weapon situation and for like the weapon focus and like the uh, that goal might have been to that electoral system strength. Their goal might have been to like okay, take that way once that transition becomes 11 will be able to that gain telekinesis as well as that telekinesis as well as sector power to end up into to open up the gate to the capacity going at that point to take advantage of sector what in that cross between countries without that approach without fighting any attention and then by acting like the bad world to cross the countries in like the real world and that way that approach self to launch that unexpected like ambush attacks and basically that way to that carry out like uh, uh, the large scale that that correction takeover like reduces things might be that like ultimate goal might be reduced the clean of the so like the as part of like the first goal that it might have been in China that might be like the target like the series of things and this might be the reason for like in that message like Russian message that basically about like silver fox that like Russian that like doesn't have basically doesn't like cerebral haptic that like basically the explanation of that time. The element of the language so like so like so like in the about into the person will be totally assuming that like the front of as well as that element it's like no more so that might be the reason for like the creation of like this complex machine and that proves right now through this like complex machine like for example trying to like complex it will be definitely feel like them totally believing that like might be like that will be something definitely my spirit is not still so like the main intention for declaring like the recent like filtration for like run of that tension of like correction course like naturally might be due to like run of having like its own like huge experiments that its own ideas and its own uses in which that like might have been desperate like all the way from the list and was like one might have had all the like concepts and ideas about like wanting to its own like ultimate experiment and that might have been only to that do that but like the situation with Lebron might be that might have not got like might have not had like enough money like funding to be able to like to work on such experiments like to start such experiment or might be like that because you know so like definitely money might have been like a huge issue and like a huge like limiting and like factor and like a huge obstacle in like it's like path to like achieve the own ultimate goal of like his own ultimate experience might be the case of living insurance. So like to make money like run up to happen to gain make all that money so that like enough to like to like well like start his own experience might be the reason for like not deciding to like only work with like like from like ultra like runner even depending to like what is like the machine force and like probably like focusing on other experiments might be like the experience of like 1 to 10 and eventually succeeding in like 11 and basically that way that in exchange for like runner self like the suppose might have like from kind of like maybe a base like an ultimate experimental lab for like one of the its own experiments and like the necessary funding and everything interaction might be what like the suppose might have offered might in like what is the things in like the step might be like the case like that might have happened in like way just not up there might have been things then like that might have probably that bring out like the concept of like basically creating like this like ultra and everything might have been created and everything. And like when it depends for like structure post might have begun on that way on. Might have been like the actual execution of what might have happened in like the additional concept definitely might have been good. So like definitely according to my experience in that the actuality of that for us like experiment involving 11 for with like might working for like sort of might have been to that definitely give element that be able to like handle like 10 minutes for the certain element to a weapon item, but like to also create like that portal kind of like thing might have been what like might have been like the next ultimate goal of that product not be like sort of like task that they made up potential which might lead to like how that 11 just be using 11 like they can start just be able to like open up the gate select the paddle board and from like the paddle board to like travel like the entire distance from that comments all the way to that be able to that product to that direction. That definitely might not be the case. You know, so that's the actual first end of like from the footprint while working for like for like working for might have been to like create like two individuals exactly like elements of like with like spelling powers and they believe to have one of like the individuals be at like the energy level game for share and that element for element to be at like the energy level way of like and then for like both of them to like simultaneously launch the telekinesis powers and to be simultaneously open up the gate. So like at that point like the actual different situation might be like if like done it through such a manner then like not just a gate to like the battle but like a portal and entire portal through like uh, through like the paddleboard like basically an instantaneous like portal which like if entered might instantly take the person that wants through that portal from like the level to like Russia to like instantly get him to like the location of like the end of the level might be like the actual difference the extent of that board level like and might have been definitely much right now like the person that through this like conversation between like the Russian that Russian person participants might be also like trying to like achieve exactly that might be the actual different situation that we might be so like definitely the actual different the person experience might be like to shoot out teams using that green liquid which might be like power charging and like causing that as good chemical reaction like multiple chemical reactions might be taking place for like this complex machine to like shoot out its like green to like the wall and to attempt to like react that whole process. So definitely it will be like this green liquid that like pops up that activates all that it chemical reactions from the reactions to be to happen. Might be like the case of human to represent. So definitely like the activity that experiment might be so that okay how like uh to affect the complex machine work in that with people energy laboratory which would be most likely more with that pathway uh pathway of provision that industry and problem. And for a lack of would eventually leading to definitely not fit. Rather, these are actual complex questions. So, like from that figure kind of, so it might be lovely figure kind of the question the laboratory beneath like the modeling how it then definitely through the complex machine there as well as like the complex machine like the actual uh, electrical things of things in like energy laboratory in like Russia to have certainly an complex machine there as well as like the complex machine in like different kind of reflection or something like to have these two complex machine that shoot out like the powerful screens like to create like to open up like the portal like simultaneously to have for these two conversations to like out the three simultaneously and that way like create like like ultimate portal which will be easily get make it possible for like the person from like the level paying message to like instantly instantaneously be able to like travel and make it to like the peak of energy level to finish like the might be what like the people in the might be. trying to like achieve through their filter experience might be like actually considering like your preference things that you know that but it's pretty good. So that the name I'm looking right now is that like the name of like my can the future right now that really like the person be extremely worried and like totally focused on like the whole situation of like the like the mind player like the mini mind player that like I'm totally protect like them won't be taking like the the person won't be at all even bothering to like take any of like the radio phones at all. The might be like actually the situation the clean on the so that we able to conduct it for like the team of like substance and through like inform them eventually with that up to set like and especially due to that there being no CCTVs that in that pathway that then like substance and through like eventually that way being able to like take full advantage of that like the lack of CCTVs into that them being able to like initially making it to that location where within that underground location. Then it's like the more where like to like message that is like option message is being sent and like them with that app will still really attempting to like totally uh, send like send message to like the surface like still like integrating into that phone where like this machine radio machine compressor radio machine might be to which like this message high intensity message will be might be getting sent which can make it all the way to like it might be like a really what but like I'm like for like the scenario that I'm right now for like while Steve and all of them will be that's really like trying to like work that. And I'm going to like it would be most likely a Robin that would be having that an idea as to like how to work that. Okay, so while they would be finally managing to like send that message that while they would be finally managing to like send that message, which I'm totally trying like that would be straight away sending towards like Mike and like definitely at that point like definitely absolutely Mike's radio phone would be most likely in that abandoned kind of like situation in like Mike's room as well as like in Lucas case as well like for it. And in Vince's case as well like supposed to be like the same scenario like them like repeatedly trying to like to send like the message on three times like on Mike's telephone and like Mike not picking and then that parents failing and then Lucas and like Vince as well. Or parents failing and like then them deciding to like basically send like their message of like urgency towards like the station to the station that but like right before they will be about to do that like I'm just trying to given like I'm doing like them getting more like I'm just trying that might be at that point that I'm like not likely Steve getting ending up actually getting clumsy and easily like ending up making sound and easily that resulting in like the Russian book Russian sport like clear Russian towards that location that point is when I'm looking bring that exactly for that Robin and Erika alone that still managing to that hide while Dustin has been getting captured and basically put into that this like interrogating room in an kind of a situation where like constantly so like that way I want to remember sitting in a running brain in that like Robin as well as like Erika with that twisted then according to like Robin's like brilliant plan with that Robin will get that will make me like and Robin's like this guy can continue to like that some successfully managing that free not only that nothing as well as that stay but also home that well as like scenario that again through Owens that help us how mechanically then succeeding in like destroying that complex machine in that like energy laboratory which might definitely open that which would be where like this pathway would be eventually getting to where like that complex machine will be so like through Owens help that is how one would like eventually that very of that Steve kind of in a lot of that man going accordingly to let them orders like that Owens will be given the to like destroy that complex machine and like them succeeding in like that way destroying like the complex machine and definitely, and I'm going like even in like energy laboratory, like the Russian energy laboratory engineer, like the morning talking that way. I'm talking about there on the CCTV and so it's also like the also data analysis. So like that way, like nothing and all of them being able to like take advantage of the lack of CCTV there as well, like in scenario. So like forward to tell the sound like the team of like Steve and Russian and all of them like appearing in like complete messing things up connected to like the complex machine and that way it's resulting in like eventually as the scenario that I'm in for like the deadline for interaction was like for like interaction time is like almost being over like like the chase the same thing for that later as well being almost over and basically at that very last second like they would have finally figured out like that final issue that might have been causing like their complex machine and their experimental interaction time to like not what to can happen so like as they would be about to solve that and they would be like about to launch that final like final execution of like sending that yes, of like teams to like open up like the phone like and that and as like the time you about the video like and then when that against when I'm doing like the team of like the full team and the others will be like that assistant will be managing to that mess up like all the things that that up result comes to like the competition and that way like that final attempt like something failing is like the scenario that and like the industry of like the lab getting like according to like own plans like must and given all of them will be messing up like the things in like that lab and like that entire lab that like totally getting destroyed at that point, starting to get destroyed like at that point, like it's another journey. So like at that point I'm just like then doing all that with that aspects and I'm like for to be only at that point like sort of supposed like totally maybe at that point being totally confused with like the whole situation like then trying while they were totally focusing on trying to like fix that whole situation like I'm like at that point along with like Owen like I'm just like Dustin and Steven or not trying to like escape. Or like in the point like Owens like deciding to like stay behind because like Owens might have like some sort of like a final finishing touch to something to lessons for lessons that lab and that resulting in like Owens telling Steve and others to like escape head that Owens would be making it would be around the night and Owens would be at Steve and others so like that way Steve and others like totally running back towards like the elevator and making it back towards like the supper toward of like the mall but like I'm doing as like eventually as like owns would be about to like make it to that elevator like anything like owns like only getting found and from that one of the director was like basically like taking out like owns like was scenario that way like owns getting into it in like let's say there's a strange things and that one is like even the scenario that I'm going to like ring and my like which number from the nerve and like really ending up being such an athlete talk for like Steve and like those like initially once they will be finding out about that news reflecting the scenario currently or reflection of creators. Another multiplying like that way while all this will be happening like multiplying like might end up others like might still like would be simultaneously like would be totally focused and basically would be struggling with the whole situation with like the mind player and like the army of like mind player of like them having to like take down like the mind player and like army like the scenario that but like both the struggle of like and like the mission of like does it contain as well as like might contain that okay will be ending up becoming the surface that uh almost like around like the time like simultaneously that is like an emotional scenario that I'm about the profession of sometimes but we have still taken a different that like so like of wanting to like go to like noise like that like it might be I'm seriously in focus about the say of like of wanting to go to like Illinois would be definitely to like meet with like a race shadow and just meet to ask Ray Carroll about like partners like experience and like this whole what we've done with like the production course and everything. Mind the kind of just like the scenario that I'm and the label like while for kind of like to be going to like some different like almost like on their way back like 10 later running into like Cali and I'm different definitely that eventually that for meeting today like for Cali where like I'm doing like for would be like only not sort of speaking like the self of Cali at all. Even in like the current situation and everything that definitely at that point would be whenever aware of who Cali is that because like 11 would have definitely it is not only about right but about meeting Cali and everything to like offer definitely offer my doubt seeing Cali as like having a bad influence on like 11 and that would be like and that might be like the last thing that offer might be wanting for like 11 so like definitely I'm like enough of like running into Cali like and like totally would be not taking like the help of Gary and like without the grade level feeling Gary and the like scenario that again yet like I'm talking that meeting between that four professionals Gary is what I'm like not like eventually spiraling into that basically Gary only ending up showing it to like the comments and basically that totally that totally happening in like the exact right time while 11 and like the other and like Hopper and all of them like even though they will be giving their absolute everything to like stop like the mini mind player and it's like happening like that whole fight will be ending up with like 11 suddenly getting closer and that executed by like the mini mind player finally and that as like the mini mind player will be about to take control of like 11 at that very last second like I'm definitely putting it but still 11 was to be Galley and of that top again and at that point happening it will be cutting in like Galley's that way through Galley and the fresh that will be how like I'm like 11 will be getting saved and rescued and everything like that way through the final scenario that will be destroying that and eliminating like the mini mind player like will be like simultaneously like combined like telekinesis attack by the team of like Shalit and 11 against like the mini mind player. This was what for like to be taking out like the mini mind player and like at that point the instantly like completely like the literally the control command and for actually and all and at that point it's like the simultaneously like the scenario that is like and so yes, so like continuing my questions, like I believe that while 11 was that in like the password that closing that the key gate finish that finish that the energy level of like kind of like at that point then definitely like the fact that like the giant original shadow monster or like Minecraft was like sending this like stuff like things towards like 11 close towards like 11 by 11 was like the right close to it. That might have been the lead that might have definitely be right now I'm trying to that like seriously that might have been actually like the original mind player at that point that trying to like take control of like 11 might have been like the case that limits for so like definitely take control of like 11 might have been like an extremely high priority might be even to the possibility that's an extremely top priority for like the potential giant mind players definitely might be so definitely because of like 11 having like the Pelican powers and getting that way if that from like the giant of the mind players that point of view like it would only think that like if it take it's able to like take control of like 11 then like it could like create like as many like kids from like the pan world should experience what as this can using like 11 and that way like definitely it would be finally be able to like enter into like the giant open mind player will be able to like enter into like the real world because like that as well would be like the ultimate core of like the giant organ might lab because like even while like that fuel gate in like that underground fuel gate beneath like Brenner's like energy lab or even while that gate was like so extremely cool like the police while everyone was like trying to like close the gate like the fact that like the giant mind flare giant organ mind flare didn't force its way into like entering into like the real world from the Japan world might have been solely due to like that gate the mind being so extremely quick back then like still not being able to still not being huge enough or like big enough uh, to make it possible for like the extremely huge giant mind flare to be able to like pass through and enter into like the real world might be like might have been like that with the principles but legal differentiation this might have been like so written for like that giant original mind flare like being forced to like only be able to like attempt to like totally take control of that 11 back then as like 11 years like attempting to like the huge case might have been the case with Liam Trail. So if you after that like the Liam during like the Austin Giant mind player might have been like the might have formed this idea to like totally might have been the lovely aware even if like with case closing that it might have been the lovely aware that is me that like the that the mini mind player that it had sent which had taken control like when like really haven't made it back even after like the game haven't made it back towards like the towards like merging with like the main option mind player after the game was closed. So that was maybe one thing that might instantly that genuine player might have realized so like something it might have instantly formed the plan to like complete even though like the gate closing and like the option then mind players like go like getting stopped and destroyed by 11 like still like instantly it feels like at that point like without much any of like data at all like the giant mind player might have stayed away from its idea to like communicate and that has to stealth to like totally figure out like the next plan to like totally eventually take control of the event might be and that way so that like the giant mind player will eventually like enter into like the real world uh, would be along the lines like with the mind player might have decided and basically so like instantly after like closing like the team is like the uh, energy laboratory of like some like an program with radio at all like the giant mind flare might have been like the one to like only send with like frequency which might only be inaudible to like to human like which like the giant mind flare from like the close starting one might have sent this like frequency to like what to be able to like communicate with like the mini mind flare might have been the case and might have stayed away as part of a communication like the primary order that giant mind flare might have communicated and told the like the mini mind flare might be to like to totally borrow 11 and that cube or they form 11 might have been the case the main instructions might be how that the giant mind player like that when that 11 was like dancing the like might had like the snowboard tank like play and basically the fact that like the giant mind player who exactly was like exactly at that location like the band might have been the play to like the giant mind player knowing that that's exactly where like the open that expect time like the real world due to lack the stealthy frequency communication between like the mini mind flap who might have been pointed on that point and like the mind flap might have been like the case the human spend. So like the play through the stealthy frequency communication like it might have been like the giant of the mind flap as might have given like the mini mind flap on this idea for like how to like what form of the next plan to that manipulate and go below and hence so creating like this like the human army by taking control of that great number of humans yet like while doing that while maintaining stealth that while prioritizing stealth so like the giant mind player might have communicated and told like the humans that like where like the giant mind player had messed up and had it like plans at this point uh was that the path where didn't prioritize stealth might be along the lines like giant mind player might have communicated to like the main player so like this time for like the mini mind player to like learn from his mistakes and basically for this time like to take focus on stealth and stealth and it's gonna be more than anything and like to expand like where and expand like the arm until it's like strong enough until like the mini mind player like absolutely from that like the uh, control army of the mini mind player will definitely be certainly would be strong enough to that bring down 11 and to make that taking control of like even possible like until that point for like the mini mind flare to like actually ensure to like always keep away from that 11 and it needs to always ensure to like more cases like our flow might have been like that under main priority of like an office that the giant mind flare might have given to like mini mind flare so like it might be the reason for like even while Billy had that. Even while at the fact that like 11 had like only found out about that Billy in that trouble only was like 11 as part of like this game that 11 had played with like Maxine through the dark void had like just for like the fact that it was only at that point that 11 like had realized that like something was like off his like the fact that until that point, like already while like the shadow motor, while like the mini mind player had taken control of that, then even at that point, already like the mini mind player already hadn't taken control of that a bunch of like humans already. Yet like the fact that actually no one in like surround talking is like aware of it, like especially the fact that like even after like the mini mind player has taken control of Billy, like the fact that like Billy still came to like for like the cold plates and everything was like don't just like what kind of thing might be definitely due to like don't do like the order of like the options and Minecraft like the meaning Minecraft working accordingly and like prioritize itself was kind of to like straight might be the case that we might be able to do. Definitely with like the recent fight between like Billy and Eleven and basically that way like Billy's like cover like suddenly being blown like this. So from that point on, like once like Billy returned back to like the making Minecraft like and he and I'm thinking about the mention that like we need that for like basically screaming exactly like and suffering exactly going for that suffering exactly while like during like the fight between that city and 11 might have definitely been so sure points of the might be like that's just exactly point of the sitting over here while like the mind player will be having that control after taking control of like human army and that even though like the mind player will be able to like at that point give orders to like the human uh, those human army and that they will be following get like like that for interconnection between like between everyone that like the mind blast control which was like very much present in like the past like that definitely won't be present is definitely in like the days of like the control of the mini mind players definitely might be present. Also like the mini mind player definitely might not be able to like see what like the army human army it control sees and sees what is like human army number of like fields might be also the case definitely might be present. This might be the reason for like for like billion run back I was like even after really as for like whether it was that like Michigan it was like whether even after we might be definitely due to that interconnected between like the nothing of like and like the elements are not existing at all and like that way like none of them will nothing of just like being able to like see what each of the piece of like here's what each of the piece might be like that's what the situation especially non-premise so definitely with like the present situation being like the news like someone being drawn like the William was doing at that point so like the might might have given the honors to its like seminar along with like William and to like only to definitely not for the song step anymore because like it's not possible anymore. Maybe along the lines like when might have given the honors. So like for all of them to like from that point on to like stay hidden in that go down like place, and usually for them to like only step out of that go down like place only during night time, and to only target humans passing by that go down area and close to that go down area, as like targets to like further expand like human army before like the limited time within which definitely like the minimum player right now, so it's like cover ground that will be totally expecting like 11 and teams to definitely make it to that go down and finding that goal. Don't think that the minimum player at this point will be absolutely tough enough. So like until that point, like it's all they have until like they can expand like their human the mind player will be able to expand its like human army. With that as good still as much as possible will be along the lines like the main player will get on the taking supplement payment. So like it's a because of the reason of the thing that and like the main player might not have been given that or to it's like human army. Then that may be only because of that reason itself like I'm like the next time 11 and like my candidate would be even seen either Julie or like Heather or even like Heather's parents would be only once they will be eventually finding like the goal, it's definitely my preference. Or like while 11 would be like once again accessing like the dark void to Nexus for like Heather, uh, or like have a spell, or like the this definitely my preference. And even at that point, definitely I'm looking like the mini Minecraft right now, like something that I already considered that as well. Definitely like the fact that like 11 is already after like searching for like Billy through like the dark void. The fact that like 11 the government created like had searched for like 11, so like actually like the mini Minecraft would be right now like the person will be only thinking that 11 the government created like seriously searching for like Heather's parents or like one doing something for like Heather and the so like at that point like before that happens when that happens like for uh like the minimize will have to like set up like another absolute trap for like 11 so that way like throw and new 11 thing like a very big cost for like the item bar like that ultimate pack might be so the getting set for like 11 by like the minimize player and like in is like the scenario that I'm doing. So like one member from the template definitely something right now like the person definitely and like the group of like Nancy and like Mike and like right now at like others on like they won't be finding anyone at all that is like scenario where I'm about like I know about it. And also so according to my different for literally might get at least from this point on that at this point like all of them and like a lot of missing cases that will be simultaneously happening in like news of like missing cases like simultaneously happening in like the town of Hawkins, all of them from this point on, especially according to my perception, like I'm talking from this point on, due to like the minimum player tower being blown, like the minimum player ordering all the like currently like happening to for like none of them to like return back to their real life job settle and to like remain at like hidden in that point. They don't connect them because like the minimum player will be giving the order would have given the order to second after like in this fight against the minimum player because it's like it's of the one totally different like definitely a sudden news like happening of like a bunch of like missing sort of missing greater like people on like the how the like the scenario and that only thing will be attracting the attention of like the other superiors at like the workplace of that Nancy and that can be like that the meeting what like eventually firing into that basically that for superiors uh perform were like the place were like Nancy and and what like to be eventually all those like situation that eventually resulting in like them so procedure like shortly finding out that like Nancy was like was like on point to send that kind of like also like actually also like something send that line and like Nancy succeeded and all of that had like basically had like value which they have failed like realize they along the lines of the different that on this current situation will be eventually leading to is also like an eventual of that I'm looking for. Yet like I'm looking like that was happening while still I'm looking like at that is that when like the people at like the town of Hawkins like still the public like the town of Hawkins including like Nancy and Johnson like so because like them not at all would be aware of like would be finding out like, anything at all about like the existence of like a parallel or like the situation in like the Amazon is get like but in like it will be something in like basically was like for sudden missing of like a people from the ground topic like that was like and more details about that will be getting doing like I'm doing like that also something in like that and like like the missing of like this kind of icon from like the power of like which like Nancy has portrayed to her flexibility like all that having some sort of better certain connection that maybe around the lines on the connection to be really and the feeling and the so that way I'm looking like one like the team of like Nancy and John that and Mike and to be like bringing out like the mini mind and like once like all the missing people will be that way like returning back that and like at that point, I'm preferring definitely most likely for like Nancy's like superior. Sam like most likely at that point I'm calling that particularly calling Nancy and Jonathan and that really wanting them back at like the at that place. But like I'm looking at that point like I'm looking like Jonathan I'm looking at that point we'll be only happy. But like I'm looking at that point like Nancy is totally telling that basically that she quit her job with the along the lines like as well as Jonathan quit her job with the along the lines like Nancy was getting ready to that two cleaners and that one was like scenario that I was on like so that way like and then people think that it's my land even though Jordan initially would be soft yet like I'm like Jordan maybe doesn't really would be feeling that like Nancy is that right like what I'm thinking that is like the right thing to those who didn't underline like Nancy and John that energy feeling at that moment and I'm the different that I was like in like Nancy and John putting in the same effort and they really like them both getting self-employed like and them starting something independently on their own is like the from that when I was like doing out as a bit of a and and at that point I was maybe like an LPM job and like seeking like the help of like mobile government to like set up like maybe private independent private like investigation agency and this lead that way like Nancy and Johnson like a license like the agency and basically that way like Nancy and Johnson like being self-employed and I'm looking like that totally that at the end of that point I'm looking like Nancy not of being so senior product about as well just like the eventual maybe purpose and arm that I'm looking for question. So like that way like I'm looking like that for investigation like by the claim of like Nancy and Johnson. But I think like that for baseball back that in that sort of which had began way back in like season one, I think that they usually spiraling into such an in the scenario where like Nancy and Johnson that simply turning all of their experience along with like taking a lot of training and everything like them eventually like ending up some professional is like getting into scenario that I'm able to do in the social I guess the like million friends in my house that it was only recently that like Nancy had gotten like the multiple point of that plane of like detergent like fuel as well as like fertilizer the missing like right now the flip like at least like the fertilizer going missing might get definitely intended to form like the points of like the panel work through that front over the gate. It's certainly not friends. So like definitely able to find by now definitely my considering right now that like the carry might out of these that recently it might have been recently like a bit just a bit before like all this like alien supply and the fuel as well as like for level going using like it might have been just a bit before that alone that like Danny might have actually ended up like it might have had like a quarrel at or like base in like Illinois the settler out of there front of like Danny like he might have had like an argument about that connecting to like 11 episode maybe one of her like front might have said something like might have said something against like 11 and like Kelly physically feelings towards like 11 might have only gotten off and I'm looking at they might have had this like quarrel between them at their place and in that quarrel might have ended up like Kelly staying out of and up by like conditions of like delicate power and somewhere within that case like so scenario that and that might have that might have been of high intensity that like that delicate uh, attack of like Kelly might have something that can accidentally opening up and creating a tap to like the bandwidth might have been the case definitely. So like at that point I'm looking at even though at that point like the cause again Candy might have been having that in the swap between them like and all of them like then seeing this like sudden like mysterious like tap they might have already been like confused as like what it was like not even Candy even to the person who having like any idea at all as for like the existence of like the password as to like what or as to like what exactly on an experiment like coming to like Candy as to that level was actually about definitely type of brain disease. So like carry as well as the Robert Gang might have been mostly confused and then like they might have decided to like check it out like might have oh that there like and might have been not actually there like and like they might have probably that way act by accident the confused manner might have ended up like accidentally finding like the parallel word might have been the case for like what like I'm having so like carry along with like the Robert gang might have been totally confused at that point and might have been like starting to like explore like the panel world. But like at that point, some might hear points of along like a different like so situation might have been like uh one of like the fifth monsters like humanoid monster of like that are like in like the panel world, which might have been like members of like at least army of like the original giant mind collapse with like the giant mind collapse after like even closing the gate to like the bandwidth beneath like that huge gate beneath like Professor level. Yeah, like they were closing that gate like after like in the course of the pump yeah, like made that the main giant like might have done a lot of planning and for like planning like might have created like a huge army might have expanded its like army of like control like this monsters in like the bandwidth and might have given all of them like the orders in that explore the roads like the battle worlds to like search for like any pair of opening to like the real world might have been the case especially when like from like the giant mind player point of view like even though 11 had like succeeded in like closing that huge gate like like still there might be like the giant mind player might have straight away considered also like the possibility of like there being other like things like 11 is like the human like the possibility of like there being other humans in like the real world possibly having that the exact power with that of like 11 as in check that way like the possibility of there being other kids like the human world like the paradox about which like maybe like the mind perhaps not aware of maybe along the lines like of like a possibility of the mind perhaps might have seen that from the human so like what like the mind could have might have been like it might have thought about the possibility of like it might have expanded it like humanoid as well as like that like fish from the army and basically it might have given them all the orders to like spread across like Chicago and like drop for like any games to like other so that way like it might have a reflection of that army of like the giant mind flames that like can along with the robot can mind things until then like beginning to like explore like the hardware might not only by sheer concept might have ran into such new so like at that point like seeing like the first month of perfect the first time I'm doing Italian of them might have only got scared and at that point of like the since like the shadow of the can see what like the like since like the giant shadow of the can see and feel what like it's like minions in control can see and feel like a different sort like the shadow it might straight away see in like all these like human suddenly in like the man so like I'm something like at that point like a bit more might have straight away ran towards like the Cali and those and at that point like Cali might have used like telekinetic strong against like the monster and might have taken over one or two of like the monsters but like the might have been a bunch of things in that location at that point might have been the case so like just three because we carry using that telekinetic strong and that point the monster like the giant shadow monster like might have felt that has like it has one like the no and that is like and like this like was like on their right all along. There are other like other humans like that might be along the lines of like that have relaxation that might have happened to like the giant shadow might have been the case the playing so like might have suddenly that given orders to like all the control like things like that that might have been nearby to where like carrying like the rope and wants to like for them to like go to that exact location and abduct carry might have been like odd like that uh, the giant mind could have might have given so like and that way like a few army of like base might have without any delay at all might have stormed it before like alien the army might have been able to like make it back to the real world so through the game so that the before that time was when like the base monster might have what might have happened might have been like the base monster great army like the monster might show up and like Danny might have spoiled try to like protect like from like like case to the like while as per the point that protect them like and carry might have ended up exhausting them and all using of them for and that way might have at that point might have totally gone up that like that by the risk monster and like the related monsters might have eliminated like something like carry at that point so while and like carry that might have been such an absolute stop for like carry and that one might have been more better you know that Leon would bring that way that that was carry might have at that point like from that or stop and the oral person might have maybe fall unconscious at that point like what might happen the main in that way like the trace monsters might have brought carry towards like from like the location of that invoice in like the parent world all the way to like another foundation to like the giant shadow monster might have been the case. So like then shadow monster at that point might have taken the power of that. And then like the giant shadow monster might have totally that that use like can is like technical powers to like totally uh stealth like that has to stealth that also that's the game once again to like the real world. And then was bring that down. And it might have definitely been that first game that might have been of Cali at that point might have been exactly at that board on the like the mini mind players like currently this and might be like it is certainly on French so like they are like one of like the case might have been open so that the control of the carry by the environment might be the case yeah, like the environment like control of carry might have certainly created like a bunch of like multiple other games all of those like down for the like stealthy location might be also the case certainly not the so that way, like, I'm looking at since that fundamental principle, like, the case like that, both carries control might have been often, once again, often in the might be at like the location of like the bottom, where the community might be like, I'm looking like the wines might have, the double delay might have started to like grow, so like, I'm sort of like to accelerate like the speed of like the growth of like the gate, and like growth of the wines and hence that way, like the growth of the gate and like to quickly, and that way to like increase like the whole of like once again building up like the stealthy underground upside down and everything might be the reason for like definitely that might be that one main reason as well behind like the minimize where like quickly taking control of like all this like human army and wanting to like expand the human army well might be also the case with minimize for like the minimize players like as well as like probably what might be happening in like the middle of the night might be like the minimize players like control uh, of like the human army my way of organizing like the inner need to lack of need to take that whole underground like for and like by having like the inner need that consume that whole fertilizer as well as like uh cleaning detergent like something like that might be like the minimized like way of like transportation of like all these things because like the fertilizer by the fertilizers might be continuous recommended on the internet for like the point from like that case that Kelly might have created in that one like to faster like mostly that case but like by now that might be totally power sector might be totally steadily multiple gates already present in like the town of open already might be the case you know right so like to get like so like the army to get like all the fertilizers great one get fertilizers towards like that is like each of like the mine and to like the the town of open so that like mines to like print fast and so that the gate will get bigger and bigger that also to give the reason for like the fertilizer going missing, as well as like for like the fuel going missing, that might be actually then for like the least certainly not different for like chili to like take the and basically to like quickly petrol more and more to like only end up like having and like more and more human army for like and many might be the case and as for like the cleaning like supplies and because it's going that might actually be to to that only to hide the fact that like all those like members of like the minimize might be like the middle of the night would be like probably over like the middle of the night would be certainly thinking that underground set down for like the ones buying to like spread and like for like the underground set down and from like down that like and like so for that work might be done by the human artist the minimize lab for like while digging and doing all that work like all that work would be getting extremely dirty with like mud and everything. So like definitely this might be the reason for like the missing cleaning supplies and detergents so that like they clean by morning like and need to like get rid of all like the dirt and like dirt stains and everything on like the clothes like all the human army members while they would be like so like after like they would be done with like the process of like digging for that night and that way each night like this process might be repeating the lead might be so like basically according to my book different right now I'm getting the black copper bonding to that planning on going to like in the second and once like definitely I'm putting that would definitely be focused on like actually like meeting right you know and basically to get all the information from to like the resource and all of that. And like the person situation and all of that is definitely might be the case definitely in observation. But like after that like I'm thinking even though initially focus my job plan to like after like meeting right you know to like straight away head back to focus back and the friends still on their way back like and that how like probably have second thought of that point is like the scenario that was like At that point, like Hopper would be remembering about like Cali, about like all the things that Eleven had told about like Cali to like Hopper. So definitely, even though Hopper might have seen Eleven might have revealed about Cali to like Hopper, like since then like Hopper might have not the bond of like Cali to Cali to get anywhere near to like Eleven to like even though Hopper might have been Cali, that's like influencing Eleven in like surrounding of like still ambassador like as like okay, we about to leave, it's like hopefully we don't leave. Getting that up feeling of empathy as like 11 like Cali as well was like a victim of foreign of like villains will be along the lines like I'm doing a proper at that point would be feeling that getting a strong feeling and like that empathy of happening to like Hopper at that point towards like Cali and like Hopper at that point feeling strongly that like, basically maybe he might be able to change Cali and basically since he was able to like Hopper was able to like change 11 and basically Hopper might be totally proud of like the kind of girl with the like 11 in like the person like basically like Hopper would be at that point that as to they were to leave it's like he will be totally having that second thought chance. He will be thinking that basically he might be able to like recollect how he had changed 11 like he might be able to like also save and change Cali as well might be along the lines that Hopper might be thinking, and like Hopper will also think that like that way, like and then we also like that way, if like Hopper succeeds in that, like then Hopper will be able to like bring Cali to like the home of Hopper and 11, and that way 11 will be feeling that much lonely is that like 11 will be always hanging friends with always as friends. To be along the lines of bring like Hopper will be totally saying and that point is like pushing up and moving. That way like Hopper probably deciding turning like carbon basically Hopper deciding to to go up to because they can when my job clearly ask all the details about Cali and like as like where exactly in Illinois like Cali lives and where Cali's base is. So like 11 might have told as for like the almost exact location as to like where exactly Cali's and like the rocket and like place where they can go around this road. Definitely have to bring that Hopper. But they are remembering that like and then like Hopper turning the car, Hopper deciding to like only go meet with like Cali at that point, like another. But like I'm the like while Hopper will be making it to like that secret go around base of like Cali and like they are like I'm sitting at home and Joyce and Hopper and Joyce will be getting that absolute shock of seeing just secret kid being present in like that go around and slowly expanding in that go around secret go around Cali like Hopper and when that they will company fighting that at that point it's like sitting in scenario that I'm looking for and then the suffering like it will be only at that point that like Papa and Joyce to be already until that point at that point might be only worried connecting to the situations with like the written book alone like from that point on about the black Papa as well as like Joyce having an even bigger like that ultimate even bigger worry and like that fear of like that deja vu that feeling happening to them with like then once again like having that shock like one being seeing that face all the way in the Illinois and that Gary like Max and Taylor Catholic, that would be like so that we are connected to like the parallel world as well as like space monsters as well as like the giant mind player, like all the language here would be returning back to pop up as well as like in scenarios that I was in that way like all of the stories would be extremely worried for 11 and 20 and all of them at that point of like the scenarios that I was in that way like I'm showing at that point something like pop up as well as straight away that getting onto the car and just straight away and deciding to that basically go up to to make it back to organ to make it back towards that will as well as 11 as soon as possible and the lead to that get 11 to ensure that 11 is safe and basically as soon as possible 11 and will up safe and basically to as soon as possible to get 11 to the go down of that area and noise as well as to thoroughly do that type of check or reflect on organs as well as in order to basically to see if basically there are any more states present in either organ or as well as basically at that point I was of course also straight away would be come to the conclusion that it might have been definitely Cali that might have Cali might have actually opened that gate might be along the lines of of conclusion exactly Hopper as well as maybe Joyce as well can become down to that and definitely memorable. So definitely the next that aspect would be and another high priority for Hopper and Joyce would be when ensuring that will as well as 11 safe and like working against like zone of the flow the gate and if to like see if like there are other range like out of gate like noise as well as talking while simultaneously to also ensure that no matter where our carry is like it leads to that one is fine and stay carry and like to only hope that like carry by now might have not been taken and that the control of that mind lab will be a brain like what up and there is with only hoping with that fear and basically then talking back to like focus at that point towards like learn at that point if that so that intensity like get back towards like relevant with the like the scenario that I'm going to do and so that we might be very impression right now that maybe in that border of like the meaning minds are like one other person that will be secretly hiding might naturally be carried, a control carried by that will be under like the control of the main plan. This that also like might also be impression. So that the consumer very much on only putting that like carry might be 50%. 60% within that to go down like the minimum care might be certainly not branded and definitely that there might be also like gate as well which the carry might have created a control carry might have created percent with deep within that draw like the minimum care this percent might be the case the minimum trend and for like gate and its like expansion like I mean like it might be a scenario where like it might not be able to like even though that carry like very can like that the game might not be able to like forcefully get expanded. Might be like it might be like activity of the situation of living like the game might have its own like natural source of like expanding while like improving like the vines from like the gate might be what like supports like the growth of like the game and growth and expansion of like the game that will might be like the game like one of the gamers. So like it might be a natural growth process that might be important for like the game and like it might be a situation where like Cali might not be able to like after like creating like a gate, a small gate like something that definitely Cali definitely won't be able to like use of superpowers and settings power to like expand forcefully expand like the gate might be like a space like so that the shadow monster like the giant mind player or the mini mind player might be basically waiting for like the natural cost of growth of like the gate to happen. And I'm going to scale up like this process of expansion of the ticket might be although like the expand through like the expansion of like points support of like the points as well as like to have like the points be that much with your like run through like the underground side down which might be mainly getting which might be mainly would be like process of like getting created more and more through like the human army, something like the compound like the like maybe the games of like it might be like maybe it might be due to like the games as well as like the underground upside down, which might be like beginning point might be both of these things like beginning point might be at like that go down the minimum gravity and like the like and both of these gates as well as like the underground upside down might have it only might be right now only in like the beginning stages of it like expansion. So like this might be also the reason for like maybe that the meaning mind player at the even in like the person like this or like the giant mind player from like the bad body into the person like not being able to like control or like not being able to like send off electricity control and to have that the face of monsters like to fix tasks of them and instead having to like rely on like the human army might be possibly maybe even to the person might be also due to restoration as well. Supplements. So like maybe like the underground of the town might have like expand more and like but like the wine like hubs as well might be having to like get created eventually for like that whole like range of like range and for like control of like this amount of like process the town for things to be possible for like the mind place and we like the situation limit the like this might be also the reason for like into the person like the mind where like being limited to the lab place creating like that of its laptop and everything might be that the case that we might say. Also minus 3% for like even in like the recent fight between like 11 and Billy 11 so the main like the mini mind player as well as like maybe like the mini mind player that one point like we had written like might have only got 4 rounds and man might have maybe thought that we definitely like by now it will be totally ready like it's like human army might be totally ready to, and be able to like bring up 11 and I was like yeah it might be the lines like the mini mind player uh might have often might have better that kind of supplement but like still I'm considering like even after like the giant mind player like according to the person giant mind player like only my book might have like been like the mind flare that might have taken control of that carry. That might have happened. Even at that point, I was thinking that taking control carry, like I'm thinking that the giant mind flare might have been able to like maybe well tell that basically like 11 in the 11 like the range of like extent of like power was like totally far surpassing that of the carry. That which like the giant original mind flare might have totally felt the intensity of like the extent towards kind of like power of like 11 back when Idavan had like closed the gate right in front of like, the giant portal might have been the case the only one correct. So like it might have been like a giant I'm like maybe for like scenario being like the mini mind player being way more like reckless and like or confidence when compared to like the giant mind player, which might be a whole lot more calculative and when it's like approached in like slightly the so like it might have been like repeatedly like the giant mind players that might be having might have had like repeatedly told that the minimum class will like not cover that like the minimum class even if it's like that I mean like it's still not even including carries that's still not strong enough to like bring down in a way. So this might be the reason for like what might be even like the of like carry control carry as well. Might this might exist in like that go down place like still like the minimum class like still being forced by like the giant class to like still patiently wait until that the giant mind flare would be actually something that like the human happy of like around like the minimum flare would be actually strong enough to be able to like bring down 11 might be the case definitely meant for it. So definitely the like giant it might be like maybe like the scenario might have happened like picking up like fight between like Billy and 11 like the minimum flare using its like frequency might have be communicate with like the giant mind flare and like design mind club might have at that point so that or constantly mind club like that in the 11 like to the extent of like 11 powers like path greater and like so like only holding back on like 11 like so fight while fighting out the game like really might be along the lines like I'm going like design my influence might have made like the minimum club that understand that that's might be the minimum also the players to recommend the different for like any eventual final scenario or like the mini mind map that we friend that is eventually taking control of that fire that is the case from but the fire that is like following for and just and definitely think eventually ending up getting taken control by like that mini mind map and at that point I'm definitely think having that sort of strength once like getting controlled by the criminal club and like at that point I was like that Russian spy agent that control Russian spy agent and like would be far stronger than LTD and at that point would be giving that 11 and teams that single struggle at that point with the black forward point on top of like the increasing like difficulty pro carry and over control carry and stuff like super power like the minimized player would be using against like in like in the fight against that 11 and of them just like in the scenario that I'm looking for right now also win. Okay, so like definitely I'm saying the thing right now is that like by the time that Steve would be continuing on with Black Hole sharp attack and basically enforce that like that would be getting Steve and his team anywhere in their whole current missions to like stop like the both like I'm looking the moment Steve had began to like sharp attack against like an force member at that point like Robin instantly might have realized that like their power is like blown and it's like game over and so definitely like that, like they will be without any delay at all. The quickly all of them will be getting captured. The one thing that Robin at that moment because might have realized is like Michael forever. So like I'm looking at that point, Robin acting quickly and like Robin in that room of like that Russian force member that second and definitely that might probably with like another air attack in like the feeling is definitely the like as like Steve had began to like charge attack on like that Russian force member at that point itself I'm like Robin the scenario really like Robin quickly that picking Erica up and getting Erica to be able to like steer through that air attack. That's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like as soon as like Robin would be succeeding in that it's when I was from that the scenario to be like quickly like the remaining Russian force like quickly showing up and quickly taking Robin as well as like Dustin hostage and like literally shouting out at like Steve who they totally focused on like basically just like for charge attack against like that Russian force member while totally thinking that like that is get him in somewhere in their whole like the scenario where in that way like I'm doing like instantly like without any delay at all like Steve Dustin as well as like Robin right now is going to be getting captured and will be getting put into that whole in some kind of like situation for like interrogation. It's like in this like interrogation room, it's like the scenario that I'm doing, and they are definitely bringing that. So they remember prevention for they are definitely being or that being put into that or representing like that kind of situations like the scenario that I'm developing. And definitely able to like recap injury that way through solely due to lack of himself like and that way like recap through the air like would be eventually would be exactly like how Robin would be hoping like and like Robin will be having that conflict, that conflict of Sarika eventually pulling hope of that. Even after they will be getting captured, like another better. And it will be with that hope that like Robin will be like hope saving Sarika, like the scenario that I'm doing. So like that way through the air, but like at that point, like Sarika eventually making it towards like the room where like Robin as well as he will be in that victim of the cancer. And that way like Sarika stepping from that basically walk down to that room and basically from there like I'm in that definitely I'm even in that room like I'm definitely being at no CCTV camera at all. So also like the scenario that I'm that way like Erica being able to totally free like Robin and that Justin and Steve and like also that point is like the scenario that I'm definitely I'm looking in that interrogation room as well. I'm looking at in a sheer convenience manner, like I'm saying, like maybe either like the three of them being put into like a hands-off kind of like situation that's interrogation room, or like them getting stuck at the table like a like, kind of situation. So like definitely regardless like I'm like in that interrogation room, that's what at that point that that's the sense like finding some sort of like some sort of like a thing to like totally undo like some kind of situation of like arousing extreme person as well as like phones and that way it's like them all getting free like in generic and from that point on it will be all Owens' help that will be making it possible. Owens' help and instruction that will be making it possible for like the team of like Robert, Justin, Steve as well as like Erica to be able to like stop like that commerce machine. Uh, it's like in the scenario that I'm in time it's like in the scenario that I'm doing. Yes, so like the main observation right now certainly for like even to like score on the for like to be while better than would be most likely in like a sedated and like sneak like state like the scenario that I'm offering. So that definitely that them totally planning to totally and I'm totally planning it could be like the opportunities to have like an Nancy as well as Jonathan that go up to that meet the school and basically to focus on like basically that like taking like without fighting any attention like without waking up the sport to like steadily move the sport like that the veteran sport to like an emergency elevator which might be totally was at the level threat. So the level might to not most likely be in like the ground floor of that like of to that like the sport will be unprotected. So like I'm saying that way like the scenario to be like the specific between them like Mike and like Tate would be like in charge of like the instruction strategy while and I'm looking for enough lead while like Nancy and Jonathan would be like trying to extensively like that move that the brother was from like up definitely like there would be nurses uh, and like that would be like looking along that path. So like I'm looking definitely Mike and Lotus like don't role of like distraction strategy and basically while Mike and Lotus will be distracting like the other nurses like I'm looking like John Ben Apple as like Nancy barely managing to that basically that steadily that get the spot to that emergency elevator like the scenario that I'm thinking. And delivering it to be most likely through an emergency elevator that I'm thinking like and then John Ben will be getting this the better than spot into and that way like making it out of that through that emergency elevator like I'm sure like and then John Ben like so making it out of like the hospital and I was like at that point, I'm preferring like even as like the and I'm preferring like Mike's team like as well splitting up so that like basically by the time like the emergency elevator will be making it to like the with like the squad will be making it to like the ground floor like I'm preferring the league. The split up team will be of like Mike and those will be totally going down to like the ground floor and like would be distracting like the security of the hospital at that point while like John and along with like Nancy and like the veteran for through like the emergency elevator would be making it to like the ground floor like then like being it that way like through like Mike and others like split up team like distracting like basically like Nancy and John being able to like get like the veteran on the way to their car and basically getting sort of to like their car and basically that way that absolute still like on from getting back. to the currently trying of like the scenario, with the scenario that I'm going to okay, so that definitely not famous right now. It's definitely for like Jonathan right now to like attempt to like stop. But like I'm feeling like to come straight away attacking Jonathan like what's an after that. Look like definitely Tom right now might not be having like any like lot of thing right now. But never brain. So like I'm keeping like definitely Tom attempting to like attack and weaken and that way the realistic man of like attack like Jonathan as well as like Nancy would be what like commonly right now thinking as like the scenario that I'm going to like but like and like a bring like neither Nancy nor John that's like basically being able to like escape from Tom and like and like as like Tom would be about to get away out of like abducting Nancy and John and like and that will happen when I'm when like 11 showing up and stopping Tom. It's like the scenario that I'm definitely that's like the scenario that I'm saying definitely because of it that's only because of like the purpose of win with my birthday machine. So like will can still even while not being able to like control the uh of like the mind flare like still but then like will even in a person can sense when like the mind flare is like nearby. So the player will bring you to like the so, like the control of like mind flare within like form like and the league will right now itself that would be able to will be bring protein being able to like send like the person from like the micro nearby and that was the thing in like who will like 11 being able to like barely being able to like make it in time as like Tom will be able to affect and escape from the company like Nancy and John and like 11 making it and basically like 11 stopping Tom and that was like the scenario that I'm going to go to the and then say and at that point, cell phone looking like also 11 like a looking like Tom straight away, like running away and trying to like escape. Like the scenario. Right? So like at that point, definitely, and either might no none of them like attempting to like catch up Tom, but like instead like them like probably using that whole situation to like proceed the like girlfriend like the spot instead of like the front of like Tom and then give them so they chasing after Tom and that point is like Tom will be like running away and trying to like escape from them and make it back towards like the bottom of like now that episode. That way like I'm like it's a great delay like and that chase eventually ending up with like the team of like all of them like maybe Mike and all of them like making it towards like go along like bring the scenario that I'm like. I guess so, like looking at the transition right now that made for like the activity they might be that like the mini mind player as well might be actually able to like see and feel and like what like the individual human kind of that it controls like sees and he might be like that different the limitation for like the mini mind player might be at like the location where like the individual humans under like the control the mini mind player like the humans themselves and each other might not be able to like see what each other see and sees while each other are in like different location might be like the case certainly not situation while like the mini mind player might be having that direct access towards like everything each of like the individual human under like the control would be seen and feeling might be like the case definitely makes the nation. This might be the reason for like after like this fight against like 11 that are in belief as if like basically what it might be the case certainly not threatened. So like while and like when Heather might have seen 11 might have been a perspective about this either while 11 had searched for Heather and basically at that point like Heather so they pretending as if like Heather is in trouble like that might have been Heather consciously doing that while and like consciously obeying like the order of like the mini mind club to that way in that lieu of 11 towards like the house towards like the house of like Heather. So that like at that point like Billy could like totally like Billy could until that point had only seen 11 while 11 had basically searched for Billy through the last world like so how Billy properly be able to like see 11 in like the real life might be the case definitely because at since that situation was like all of a sudden like for like in a total manner for like the mini mind platform who felt that who at that point might have been feeling that basically if it was like probably under like that approach then for it to have that shock of like the going through that game that like 11 and Maxine has played like 11 like probably searching through the dark world was really and finding place. So at that point like definitely my particular was that like mind the mind player mini mind player might have given like the possibility to like probably so and held up to only put on that fake acting while and might have thought other that basically most likely like 11 might like sub wrong set up next might be along the lines like the mini might might have told Billy and stuff like or like might for like Billy again might be along the lines like the mini might club might have told us. So like and that so like if that happens again that for delete whether it's like delete or like for them to like pretend and put on the fake acting as if like they are in trouble so that like really that way to like lure elements to the individual forms and basically that way like at that point like definitely the people that like element have already have suspicion towards like uh for them to be a totally for them to totally see 11 looks like in like real life and basically that way to for them to like have their own heads up and basically to keep away from like 11 to especially be able to like on knowing what 11 looks like in real life so that like they will be having like that advantage that they really always being able to like keep away and stay away from like 11 might be along the lines on that the mini mindful of back then it was by the minimum perimeter so like so that might be the reason for like while 11 had showed up to like another form like basically believing person there like believing orders to be that person there and basically the fact that Billy at that point while looking at like 11 like basically Billy remembering that whole point where like 11 had closed the gate from like the main shadow monster like basically that might have been actually like the mini mind player like Billy so we are remembering that incident because like at that point like when 11 had closed that huge gate it is like at that point like the mini mind player situation might have been like the mini mind player might have been on its way running back and might have been so close to like that closing gate and might have been desperately about to make it towards and not back with like the giant mind flare, but like it might have been at that very last second, while it might have been it might have made it so close to like that closing date that like 11 might have that would have been like fully closing the date. So like and that's why like the mini mind flare might have been in and range like 11 and like might have clearly seen like 11 closing the gate and like the mini mind flare from that point on might have uh, maybe at that point, some of the conduct, the giant mind could have might have straight away sent it like frequency and like might have communicated with like the mini mind player and might have told it to like straight away follow like and that way like and that way like with like the giant original mind player in like the family for like basically being present at that exact location like that snowball and blah like anyway was like dancing with like Mike like lately at that point might have been through like the frequency communication by like the mini mind player that the source is for like the giant mind player to be able to like elements like locating at that point and like snowball that might be the least definitely mention and that point the like the giant mind player might have given like the orders to like the mini mind player to like find out who is it that basically element that's like three more precious to that element and basically that the and like that way like under that it's seeing that whole snowball dance of like 11 with like Mike like the mini mind player might have been able to sense that like Mike that's like the most precious to like 11 and like the very interesting as well like since like Nancy as well was like person back then in that whole snowboard dance that building that in that location so like the game during like it might have been like on that might like okay snowball dance it might have been maybe like Mike mother that might have sort of like to pick up and Mike as well as like Nancy back to them of might be the case with the minimum frames. So like definitely on the spring what might have happened might have been that the mini mind player at that point might have don't realize that basically Mike and um, Mike as well as like Nancy are extremely close and like live together like basically. Like the mini mind player might have that way followed them and might have even found Mike as well. Might be the case with the minimum frames. But like way back then since then like the mini mind player might have known who Nancy through is and how close Nancy is to like Mike and how close Mike is to like 11 might be the case definitely of the relation. So like definitely like the person with like the like according to like the minimum press orders like really like the human half of it the minimum player like not displaying any sort of like stealth at all and basically or in that whole extreme situation in like that hospital and everything like basically without any stealth at all and basically while only focusing on like and like with like the Nancy's like superior what superior like under like the control of like the mini mind player even specifically mentioning that that he's here for like Nancy like so that clearly right now like the mini mind player would be like totally feeling that basically uh, would be totally feeling might be feeling extremely overconfident that basically or confident that basically right now that without which they rely at the minimum player will be able to like break down elements that like the minimum player and like armies right now almost like totally strong enough to like without which they rely that here to like bring down elements Again, I'm gonna like the minimum right now is constantly feeling and hence like the lack of strength effects of that might be the case the minimum parameter. So like by targeting Nancy, what like the minimum plan might be trying to like achieve would be to totally right now like the person like for especially since like might just like always like 11 like mostly always like 11. So like I'm looking at the minimum plan would be to like totally to like gently target like Nancy and quickly attack Nancy and basically take control of Nancy. And that way, using Nancy to like that way by separating Mike Nancy from like Mike that way like to have Mike extremely be worried for the like and that way like by taking control of like Nancy and like that way using Nancy to like stealthily endure and like separate Mike from like 11 since like Nancy and Mike are like siblings and they live in the same home, like basically to have like basically after taking control of like Nancy to like have Nancy in an unexpected manner be sent back to towards like Nancy's home and that way to like in like the middle of the night like with like 11 like happens to like have like to use Nancy to like totally endure Mike all by himself towards like the goal out and basically like that way to like that has to step like take control of like Mike and basically at that point like to after taking control of like Mike like basically that has to for them to like basically to for like the minimize player around it like put like human armies to like then and only then target 11 especially so like the might totally hold like the mini the mind player as well as to like connection to like the details about like his fight against like 11 that the fact that like it was when really might have told like the minimize player that it was once like Chile was like about to attack Mike that basically 11 had like only like way more of like 11's like strength and basically it was like belief to get it like serious probability along the lines like the league might have told to like the mini point player. So like that might have been an even more transformative for like the mini point player. On top of like seeing like Mike and 11 like having that dance at like snowball dance to also seeing like how much like 11 was like concerned about like Mike like it might have been that as good qualifying and a confirmation for like the mini point player that like Mike just like so stingy which is like 11. So like be able to bring like in the person like emphasis to take control of that right now that with like Nancy being the target like the main player should be planning on like basically right now to abduct and take control of Nancy and like then using Nancy with his great delay to take control of Mike and then like by taking control of like Mike to like basically to like with to then like target 11 so that like basically at that point like even while like 11 will be attempting even if like 11 attempts to like put down like the mini wine player like the mini wine player could like complete and that put like the control Mike in front of like 11 that way to like weaken 11 because like the mini wine player was rate of expecting like 11 to like definitely not be able to like bring up like to like Mike at all. So that way to like we can and just like 11 and that way to like slowly to create the situation where like that way like the battle against like to bring down 11 would be ending up that much easier for to bring down and take control of 11 and that will be that much easier for like the minimize player to like the control of my to get out the like the minimize player would be the initial minimum player. So like this might be the reason for like Nature right now like the person getting targeted by like the human army of like the minimize player. It's definitely not the ambition. Okay, so like definitely my the ambition right now that I'm sitting on those definitely that like definitely by now like we might have definitely been able to like sense the presence of like the really fine player within like Tom as well as like that other parts of like Nancy and John. So like due to their presence in that hospital, like I'm thinking definitely by now like will might have definitely got in range of like being able to like sense like the presence of like that mini fine player. So that might have definitely resulted I'm looking that probably happening and maybe that resulting in like will probably like like totally spawning like my candles at that point and basically straight away like 11 by now would have made it to that exact location where like Nancy is like all by herself. It's definitely my friend. So like the I'm playing right now for like definitely Nancy is getting safe through 11 through 11 cell it's like within our side of the thing. So like 11 stopping that other of like that's like chasing after Nancy right now. It's definitely non-present. But like since like Nancy and Jonathan have gone separate and like I'm definitely something that Jonathan on the other hand I'm being abducted by Tom right now. Like the scenario that I'm looking and taken away and like getting taken control by like the mind player. While solely due to like 11 present like Nancy being saved right now. It's like in the scenario that I'm bringing in today. Yes, so like the payment preference right now is that like it might have actually been like the idea of like the original giant like mind player that is the which of like element had was the case which like initially it might have been using it like frequency that it might have only communicated with like the main mind player as like and might have given this idea to like only to that in that whole situation that the minimum flap like this like it might have just order to like the minimum flap to like definitely not give up on that taking control of that on the goal to like take control of that 11 and to like achieve that goal to like basically sync like with like the gate 11 goes in the gate like since like and that way with like the hub as well getting destroyed like since like the minimum flap that way wouldn't be having any active or or won't be able to like take control of that faceless monsters like in like the real world like so to make up for that like they believe that it might have been like the idea given to like the minimum flap by like thousands chance right flap that we to take control of humans and usually to create like a human army and basically uh, that way that basically since like taking control of like human like basically like the mind players would be having like that absolute control. The mini mind player would be having that absolute maximum control or like full control of that human might be like the human brain. So like that way have like the human be able to the mini mind player to like change form of like the human to like turn it into like the using like the minimum players like creativity to like turn if you have that human takes the form of like the more possible dangerous monster form would be along the lines of like the idea that like the realistic kind of like an idea that the giant mind player might have given to like a minimum player as like with the path to like eventually created like ultimate most of our nature like eventually unleash that ultimate battle against that 11 till that probably eventually bring down and take control of nuclear might be along the lines of referring like the giant mind cloud might have given as like an on to that the minimum cloud might be the case the element get like even to let the person like basically to let the person like basically for like the minimum cloud like probably get targeting Nancy like the reason when we could like basically for have like the remaining army of humans like potentially like that final score of battle against like 11 like probably at that point to like maximize chance of like the mini mind player to like be able to like bring some 11 by like turning like then the army of the humans into like the ultimate like danger like monster form and then like to also have like might as well uh along with those monsters like might in the like human form like basically like under like the control of like the minimize and basically to create this like huge army of monsters as well as might and to turn the horn against like 11 so like that is the black might like 11 so see getting really resident of like basically being able to like attack against like the monsters and that way like using like the monsters like only only for a defeat 11 and basically that way to like take control of 11 might be like the minimize players plans but minimum players like 2-1 the black might is always to like 11 so it's a great might from 11 and but after like taking control, like by targeting and taking control of Nancy to like probably use Nancy to like endure Mike and separate Mike away from like 11 while since like Nancy still set like Mike on usually go that way to that then that way through Nancy to take control of Mike and that way through Mike to like easily bring down 11 and to take control of 11 might be and to that way to like open up that multiple gates and everything might be like the plan of like the minimum where definitely might be the impression. So that leads to might definitely be the reason like in the game like this like latest most of that basically that that like Nancy as well as like Jonathan is right now facing off against it's color tones that like is totally different from like the from that of like the that like Facebook monster as well as like 2 minute play for Facebook monster as well as like the shadow monster like all of them being and basically get like for like this exact current monster could only have a different color tone might lead you to that the monster might be the monster that or they might not even exist at all in like the fan world. Like so it might be only like the dark like monster as well as like the Indian Facebook monster as well as like the shadow monster alone might be a like actual monster that exists in like the fan world. While this monster definitely would be only a creation through like the realistic creativity of like the mini Minecraft might be the case of mini like so like these the latest new kind of like muscles might be a model that will be solely created solely based on creativity alone and might not be a model that would really actually exist would definitely make it very interesting. So like definitely I'm very interesting right now definitely that for the like current monster like it might be so unique like the minimum player might have taken previous time and that might have also hard that to create that ultimate software monster. And like basically that way that the current monster like and that which might be that stronger than even like the stuff like monster as well as like the basic monster might be exactly with the definitely like the claim is yet this monster like so anyway focusing on like trying to like focus on like target Nancy and trying to like attack Nancy but like I'm like don't definitely won't be you didn't have to spend to like attack like the most of that and to like stop like something that is like just not that so like that way at that point like the most of so they would be deciding to like take out Jonathan and basically then to like focus Nancy's like with not relevant so like that way like I'm going to like most of would be like suddenly and badly indirect Jonathan and basically would be about to like eliminate Jonathan like and then with the second when I'm like along with like Will 11 as well showing up and I was going solely into that factor alone, like that for Jonathan as well as like Nancy getting saved is like the scenario that I'm doing, and that and on top of that, like I'm doing that 11 losing 11 like telekinesis power like could be totally uh, eliminating like that just that current monster as well. Just like change the scenario that I'm going to bring him into. But like this time, like I'm doing that in like the person like by now like 11 might be having like way more like a control over like 11's like control and growth over like 11's like telekinesis power that I'm looking at this time while 20 megaferentium for him like 11 will be taking out this like new monster like like definitely that combination of new monster like definitely not about asserting it like the tear to like the bad word happening and like 11 getting into like the bad word that definitely unlike how that happened in like the past in like what in school was like learn bad like in like second not just what was like doing like the person like that definitely not about happening it's like person after second and those are like elements like to figure up control which like element in like the person who we had for like elements that can or definitely my good correct while 11 would be fighting off against that new monster and like and that might be seriously feeling that fear that in the bottom of the like 11 on eliminating if like once like 11 takes out like the uh, just like name of like the bottom gets like 11 is getting pulled into once again into like a battle world would be along with like the fear that like Mike will be having fear like I'm looking like that would be coming in that like that as to survive from Mike as to like once like 11 would be taking out like this listening of it, that everything will be happening to Mike and those only at that point as to like how much 11 has to grow and what in terms of like handling her power and uh, in terms of like her control over her power it's like doing the scenario that I'm using over the like I mean, so definitely since that's the kind of frame that I'm totally dropping that this new monster might be that a monster that like might not that don't have like an original existence and might only exist solely based on like the creativity and control of like the shadow of the community player and like so on the different like it might be only due to the lack of that original existence might be the case for this new monster like I'm like this it might be only for like a limited period of time alone like that like the minimal player might be able to keep this monster in its like monster form. So like a consequence is totally different like these new monster might be a battle and not purpose monster uh might be the case of the element for which like it might have to like actually be having to like run back to its like origin within like the human might be the case of the limit and the ultimate even though I'm sitting in my perimeter right now for like the other creating like seven like eliminating like this new monster and basically that way like that resulting in like from as well as like the other cause of like Nancy and Johnson getting eliminated by eliminating like the scenarios that I'm and so once like the simultaneously once like the monster will be eliminated like the scenario that I'm putting here like I'm putting eventually when it comes to like that final showdown battle like I'm still Chile and totally protecting would be definitely surviving. Chile as well as like Heather and totally protecting should be definitely survive. Just like the scenario and like I will be that even though I'm just putting like them as well like the fine sort of might be turned into the wants of form like I'm still I'm doing like eventually in that fight like I'm doing definitely once like 11 most likely along with like carry would be finally getting free from the control, while maybe 11 will be that big against like the mini mind player like usually that way like I'm going like a combined specifically my preparation for like to be like a combined attack of like 11 and carry that will be usually ending up bringing down like the shadow monster. Like the mini mind player, and at that point, set that one, like the mini mind player would be wiped out. At that point, set that it's like control over like the in that way, become an army, and that way, like to lead the monster really as well as like the monster have like a different concept returning back to their original human form as well as like it's really like having that getting free from like the control by like the once like the minimize priority and method is also like in the scenarios that I'm going to bring. So like the player was bringing that really as well as like the production survive in like the final sort of fight scenario. Like the scenario that I'm going to bring out again.